Nothing in football is ever easy, and World Cup history has proven this time and time again. Favourites fell, legends lost matches they were never supposed to lose. The impossible became real. Here are the 5 greatest World Cup shocks in history. The World Cup is one of football's greatest stages, and this stage surprised the world at least once in every generation. Because football is not a science. A decision made in a single moment and that magnificent goal scored. And everything can change. The first shock began in the home of football, the Brazil World Cup. England were participating in a World Cup for the first time, and the world saw them as the champions. Standing against them were players from a country with semi-professional football, the United States of America. The match began. England applied pressure. They created chances, but the goal never came. In the minute, Joe Gaetjens sent the ball into the net with a header, and England, despite all their pressure, could not find an equaliser. The USA won 1-0. When the New York Times learned of this result, the editors thought it had been written incorrectly and tried to correct the story. England had lost 1-0. The greatest favourite had been eliminated. And football had shown for the first time this clearly that nothing is guaranteed. The second shock is one of the greatest surprises in football history, the Spain World Cup. 1974 and 1966 champions West Germany. Algeria, on the other hand, were an African country participating in a World Cup for the first time. The match began and nobody was expecting a surprise. But Algeria played differently that day. They displayed magnificent football with Rabah Madjer and Lakhdar Belloumi, and Algeria won the match 2-1. This victory became a symbol of African football's arrival on the world stage, and West Germany, as one of history's greatest favourites, lost their first match. But even these 2 shocks seem insignificant beside the third. The Japan and South Korea World Cup. France were the 1998 world champions and 2000 European champions, one of the strongest national teams history had ever seen. Zidane, Henry, Vieira, Trezeguet, Desailly, and France failed to score a single goal in the group stage. They lost to Senegal, they lost to Denmark, they were eliminated in the group stage and went home. Zidane had been injured, but this didn't explain everything. A world champion team was eliminated without scoring a single goal. This went down in history as one of the greatest collapses in football history. The Qatar World Cup. Germany had become world champions 4 times, one of the most established football nations in the world. Japan, on the other hand, were Asia's representatives in football, a national team that had never beaten Germany. The match began, and in the first half, Gundogan scored from the penalty spot. 1-0 Germany. Everything was going according to plan. But in the second half, Japan managed to turn the match around. They scored 2 goals with Ritsu Doan and Takuma Asano. 2-1 Japan. Germany were in shock. And this victory was not just a match result. This was the greatest victory Asian football had ever achieved against the world's greatest. And the final shockwave, perhaps the greatest in history, the Brazil World Cup. Brazil, 5-time world champions on home soil, playing without Neymar against Germany, and it was 5-0 within 29 minutes. Klose Müller Khedira, goal after goal. Brazil's defence completely collapsed. The Maracana fell silent. Brazil's fans wept. Germany had won 7-1. This was not just a defeat. This was one of the most painful nights in football history. Brazil on home soil, in front of their own fans, losing by such a massive margin. It went down in history as the Mineirazo. So what is the common thread in all of these? The same thing happened in every shock. The favourite team went in overconfident. They underestimated their opponent. And they paid the price. The USA defended that single goal against England's physical pressure. Algeria answered West Germany's power with technique. Japan beat Germany with collective discipline. And every time the favourite teams were caught unprepared, because the most dangerous feeling in football is being overconfident. World Cup history always teaches us the same lesson. Nothing in football is guaranteed. The greatest teams can fall, the smallest teams can rise. And this uncertainty is one of the things that makes football football. Spain became champions in 2026. But who knows what surprises await us in 2030? Which do you think is the greatest World Cup shock in history? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in new videos.